Welcome, everyone. This is Robin Duncan. I am here with my husband, Terry
Hello,
Macy.
good to see everybody.
This is so exciting to start this new group. Hello, hello. This is our A Course in Miracles singles group. And I don't want anybody to feel intimidated by that title. I just thought it would be super fun to have a group that focuses on relationships and healing old limiting beliefs. We've learned so much through our marriage. We've just celebrated
Mm,
24 years, right? We're going on
right.
25, knowing each other 29, going on 30. And we were both married to other people. I don't know if you read about our story on the website at acimsingles.com, but I was married to another Terry. He was married to another Robin. So it was very confusing, but not for our in-laws because
Or our
they just got
children.
to, or our children, everybody had the same names. But that's why I ended up with Robin Duncan and I didn't take on his name. It was just way too confusing if there were two Robin Macy. So anyway,
Right.
it worked out really good this way. We are so glad that you're here. And over the years in the work that I've done with people in the area of healing, limiting thoughts, and relationships, emotional healing, one thing that really stood out to me is how much our beliefs get in the way. And probably because one of my first experiences of jumping into this whole spiritual journey is someone muscle tested me on the statement, I am worthy of a happy life. Well, I sure thought I was,
Do they
but
know what muscle testing
oh,
means?
they're going to know.
Okay.
Yeah. So I sure thought I was worthy of a happy life, but you know what? I flunked big time. And I was shocked because mentally I thought I was. Of course, I'm worthy of a happy life. But you know what? My mind and heart and spirit, they were in disagreement. And I knew something was not wired in my brain the way that I wanted it to be because I wanted to feel worthy of a happy life. But if you don't really believe that you are worthy of a happy life, maybe due to past mistakes or failures or things that didn't go so well, do you realize the likelihood that you're going to create a happy life or find a happy relationship? It's just not in the cards. We get to be right. We learn from A
Mm.
Course in Miracles, we get to be right. So we welcome you tonight. And as a group, we're not only going to be able to form those friendships that I hope will just be lifelong. I've had many classes and events. Terry's done many of those with me. And still today, there's so many friends of ours that are lifelong friends. And
Right.
I see many of these faces in here right now that I've just known for a long time. And I just wouldn't give you guys up for anything. So there's nothing like having a friend that loves A Course in Miracles because, and that's part of our topic here tonight, is ACIM and relationships. Why bother? Well, we're probably a really good example of two people that do practice every day
Mm.
and it makes it so much easier. That's probably number one. As you can imagine, if you've been studying the course at all yourself, one of the first things you learn is that you're creating the world you see and that other people are mirroring their beliefs or your beliefs back to you. And I know when I first met Terry, he just had all these beautiful words, and I was in a horrible time of life. And I would just come to listen to what he had to say. And he said, oh, it's just this book I'm reading. It's called A Course in Miracles. And I thought, wow, I have to get a copy of that book. So it not only has beautiful language, but the focus is on love and forgiveness. And there is nothing more happy and romantic and even sexy than a relationship that is based on love and forgiveness, where you're not trying to feed off of each other, you're not competing. I think that's one thing that you mentioned a lot is just you've seen many relationships where people seem to almost compete with one another.
Right, right. Yeah, and our beginning or our first day of meeting was a Saturday morning, November 9th, 1996. It really began from a spiritual perspective. I mean, we knew each other for 3 years before we ever went on a date. And basically, we talked about A Course in Miracles every day.
Every day.
And
We would even fax about it. Like we would
yeah,
fax back and forth. What do you think about this? What do you think this means? It was
yeah,
almost
we'd match a passage to
ridiculous.
something or call, hey, this passage here, matches with what you were just talking about the other day. And so it definitely gave us a wonderful foundation of friendship. And as we communicated more and more, we realized that not only were we both studying the same spiritual information, but we had a like-mindedness that we were able to see more and more grow. And as we realized we were more and more of a safe space for each other, you could express yourself more and ask more and learn more and not be in fear of judgment or attack or, what are you asking that for? I already talked about that. There just wasn't any of that in our friendship.
It took about 3.5 years of just being friends before we went on a date. And that's not because he's not great and wonderful, because he is, but I really didn't trust that anyone could be quite so nice. And I think I was just kind of waiting for the other shoe to drop because he was so consistent. And not that we all have to be so consistent, but it taught me something else. Early on, I would say right before we met, I had been asking God to teach me about unconditional love. I think I always felt loved, but not necessarily unconditionally. The kind where if you say something wrong or if you goof up, the other person doesn't withdraw their love a little bit or their attention. And so I kept reading. No, I guess it was right after I started A
Mhm.
Course in Miracles, thanks to you. I started reading about this. If it's not consistent, it's not love, it's fear. And I thought, oh dear, because I knew love, but it wasn't really consistent, it would be withdrawn by maybe the other person if you didn't say it quite right or do it quite right. I kept praying to God that I wanted to understand unconditional love. And I feel like I was not only taught, I was shown, and now I have a relationship based on that. So I offer to any of you here, if you feel like you're a little foggy on unconditional love and what it feels like or what it might look like, ask God to teach you. He will. And I felt like it was a very genuine request. I had a wonderful set of parents. I had a great childhood, but always, if you said something wrong or did something wrong, there was that kind of backlash or the blowback that kind of made you feel small for a period of time. So I didn't feel like I really understood unconditional love, but I do now. And when you have a relationship with A Course in Miracles involved, and I would say it's just the principles, of course, having God at the center. We have 6 kids together. He has 4. I have 2. We have no children together.
Right.
But raising 6 kids and being step parents, both directions.
And 14 grandchildren.
And now we have 14 grandchildren. We had none to begin with, but
Right.
um, it's definitely presented its challenges, lots to pray about. We had to get on the same page with parenting. We pretty much were already,
Hmm.
but you have to kind of find your cadence in the relationship. And we just learned so much along the way. Not everything worked out perfectly, so we learned from that too. But we thought, what if we could share all these things in advance? Not that we have the whole book or anything, but there's a lot to be shared that you don't have to have the same challenges we did. And I have to tell you though, my father actually proposed to him on my behalf 3 times before we ever went on a
Right.
date. First of all, my father, as I was coming out of my own divorce and I was doing my own healing, and he met Terry, and one of his first words were, nobody can be that nice. And I said, no, I think he is. I think he's really that nice. And then he met him like 3 months later, and he said, nope, nobody can be that nice. And I'm like, yeah, think he is. I think he is. And then finally, the third time, he actually proposed on my. He said, if you want to marry my daughter, and I'm like, Dad, would you stop? We hadn't even gone on a date. So
Right.
anyway, somebody can be that nice. So I think for anyone to hear what this guy has to say, he's really worth listening to.
Well, I know that also, I had been studying the course for a couple of years before meeting Robin, and that's certainly a long story, interesting story, which as we grow together and spend more time together, we'll be talking about our experiences and how we were led from one thing to another. It's pretty fascinating. And in my period of time of beginning to study the course, I came from a place in life where everything had failed, and I had no real spiritual foundation. And from my previous wife, Robin, she had actually introduced me to A Course in Miracles materials, but I hadn't really paid attention to it because, I grew up a football player and a wrestler, and you just get out there and tackle stuff yourself and figure it out and solve it. And if you can't, how weak are you? And I had to grow through exhausting that effort in life, and finally got to a place where my mind just was empty and blank, and I had no more solutions to anything in life, work, family, relationship, anything. And so I finally began to study A Course in Miracles. And I first started out listening to cassette tapes by someone named Marianne Williamson. You may have heard of her. And I just listened to her tapes all the time. And I thought, I've got to reprogram my brain because everything I've been trying doesn't work. And so over the course of time, as I began to listen to what the Course had to teach, and then started to listen to what God had to teach me, things began happening in the way of literally miracles in my life. And I thought, it's got to be this shift in what I'm thinking and how I'm thinking and what I'm studying. And it led me to trust the information because I literally saw things occurring that wouldn't have occurred if I wasn't doing the things that the course was teaching me. And so I was getting in a better and better place, and finally reached a place in life where I was ready to have a friend. And the night before I met Robin, I prayed about that and said, I've been shying away from people because that was one of the things that wasn't working in life, just interacting with anybody. So I just wanted to be on my own. And so I was and studied the course for a while, and then finally reached a place where I prayed that I was ready to have a friend that could have been a puppy. There was no definition to that, but I got you instead.
That's right.
And so, of course,
More cuddly.
When Robin wanted to know about the information, because I trusted it, I felt comfortable in sharing it with her, and then we grew together from that point forward.
This whole part about A Course in Miracles and relationships, it helps
Hmm.
so much.
Right.
If there's ever a disagreement or you don't see something the same way, I know one of the things that Terry had offered to me when we first started dating, which I'd never heard before. If I had feedback, because at that point I already had two sons, he had two boys, two girls. My two boys were living with me and we were starting to date, and his son was coming back and forth. So our boys were like stair steps. They were at the time like 4, 5, and 6.
Right.
So there was a lot going on. The boys, they joined pretty quickly and became friends without any pressure because we really weren't dating or anything. Whenever we would have any disagreement, even about the kids or what should happen, one of the things he would tell me is, thank you for telling me. If I would say something he had heard maybe for the first time or maybe he didn't quite agree with, he would respond with, thank you for telling me. No, I mean, not like a parrot. It was quite natural when he would do it, but it was so helpful. Whoever you're talking to, it just puts them at ease. Say if I have something to share, maybe it's about his son at this point. Maybe I noticed he didn't do his homework, but I didn't really want to be the one to say it because it's not really my place. We were friends, so I might have to say, by the way, I noticed your son wasn't doing his homework. And so the first thing he would tell me, instead of, you're kidding, he always does what he's supposed to, there would be no disagreement or battle or objection. There was a welcoming. And so I think that's very helpful between two people, always letting the other person, as much as you can, have a safe place to share what's in their heart. Because if you're with someone that you really like, chances are they're not trying to hurt you. They're trying to help or convey a message. But I know that he taught me that. And so I do that with other people now. And we learn from each other, but I just love that. because
Right,
I
right.
felt right away a great sense of ease in sharing what was ever on my mind. And then he was still free to share or disagree. But by that point, there was no, I'm right, you're wrong. There, that was out of the room. So,
Yeah, and I think also that having our own personal experience of having A Course in Miracles as our foundation of our own being, but also as a foundation in our relationship, it makes life and relationships so much easier. And an example of that is maybe Robin and I are the odd lot out, but we both work from home and we're around each other all day long, every day for the past 20 years. We're always around each other. There's no one leaves and goes to work or goes somewhere else and does something and then they come back later. We're around each other all day long, all the time for the last 20 years at least.
mhm.
And it's like that. Our minds just are woven together. Oftentimes, one will say something and the other will be, I was just thinking that. It's almost like, literally, like the Course in Miracles says, there's one mind. We experience that a
But I don't,
lot.
I don't think it's necessarily us that are
Right.
doing that. I think it's when you're listening to a higher consciousness to guide you,
Hmm.
there's a very natural thing that happens. I think for all of us, even as we all get to know one another, we'll be thinking the same thing and someone will verbalize and everybody's like, yeah. So it's just that when you start listening to that higher guidance, it just starts weaving your mind together. That's what it feels like, even though it's always been one.
Right, right.
But this journey is so worthwhile. And if you are looking to either heal relationships you're in, and it's not just with a partner for life, but it could be your sister, mother, daughter, this is going to help you. This group is going to help you. It's about all relationships and really having holy relationships in every one of them. If a couple of you find sparks between each other in the group, that's great. But really, it's just to provide a safe, loving atmosphere where we can all be friends. And I feel like my mantra is we are friends first. We have to be friends first. So I hope you all will be our friends
Right,
and
right.
that we can hang out together. I think you'll find it's a lot of fun when you hang out with people that are not quick to judge you, or even if they do, all it takes is any one of us helping that person to realize, oh yeah, I'm doing this to myself. It doesn't take long to try to offer love and forgiveness instead of that judgment. And, not with persecution, not with a finger wagging, but just to understand through A Course in Miracles, we learn that we are projecting the world we see. And if that's the case and we are the dreamer of our dream, who could we be upset with, if we are the dreamer? And we don't want to turn that judgment on ourselves either. We want to never turn judgment on anyone. The ego always needs a target. That's what we learned from the course. So when we are feeling tempted to judge someone or see them as imperfect, not enough, not doing enough for me, then all we're doing is listening to the ego. The ego will always evaluate that the other person is not enough. That is its function.
Mm.
So it's really what guide are we listening to when we're asking for that guidance. I can't imagine these days having a lasting committed partnership relationship or really anyone, but especially that one without practicing the course. And when we say practicing the course, it's not about the curriculum. It's really about understanding the light and the innocence and the holiness and the greatness of the other person, that you're not trying to, and also for yourself, you're not trying to complete yourself through them. You're not trying to heal something from your past through them. If I was in a relationship where I didn't feel very loved or attended to, and I was always, working for love, and I used to feel earlier in my life that I was one of those people on a street corner, only my sign said, will work for love, because I just felt like I worked for love
Mm.
a long time. And so when you work for love and you don't feel like you are getting employed, or getting the answers, it's tempting in your next relationship to evaluate that person on whether or not they are meeting those needs or not. And so through these beautiful teachings of the course, we can really learn to free ourselves through the beautiful guidance of the Holy Spirit, free ourselves from those hurts of the past and the judgments and really reset. I love the workaround of Holy Spirit, will you decide for me about this? Let's say I'm meeting someone for the first time and they're supposed to arrive at 7 and now it's 7:05, 7:10. The temptation is there to go, oh, they don't care. They're not the right person. They're off. They're imperfect. And so what if in that situation you were to say, go straight to God, take everything to God. God, this person and I, we have this gathering at 7. They're not here. I don't know what to make of it. Why don't you decide for me about this? Will you let me know, is this a good relationship for me right now? Is it not? Will you decide for me about this? And let's say now it's 7:20 and your phone rings and maybe it's the person that is literally in the middle of a car accident and they're actually asking you to come and pick them up if you could possibly do that, and you find out, oh, they really were late for a very good reason. Or a lot of times you'll find that it really is something quite reasonable.
Mm.
But because of past experiences, we're very tempted to judge that person straight away, and they may not have done anything at all that they could even control. So that workaround of Holy Spirit, will you decide for me? My goal is peace. So, especially when you're in that predicament that you don't understand and you're tempted to judge that other person. So, no, what do you
Right,
think?
right.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Just the foundation of communication that we've personally experienced has just really been so easy and so uh, interactive together. As I was saying, I mean, we really can. I don't know if it's anticipation or just getting a message about what the other may need. And as Robin was talking about unconditional love, it's from a Course in Miracles perspective and our experience of it, it's not that you might do something for another. For example, I am totally devoted to supporting Robin in anything she wants to do in life and accomplish. And that doesn't mean that I give up something or I sacrifice something. I mean, the course is very helpful about that. It's not about sacrifice at all. So if I were to think that, well, I'm going to give her this and deprive myself of something because I want to be of service and support her, it's not that way at all. It's doing it totally out of love. And it literally is, the scenario that what you give out or put out that you receive back and you attract it back. But that's not the reason you're doing it, even though that's what actually occurs. And so I think that's one of the cool things about it also is there's lots of benefits that you don't have to work hard for.
Absolutely. Now, I think most people in here have either heard of the course or really enjoy what they've learned so far. This group is not requiring you to be a expert, a Course in Miracles student, just basically understanding that you are projecting the world you see, that your thoughts do matter, that you are willing to consider that when something doesn't go well, doesn't mean blame yourself, but it means to pause and ask for guidance and redirect and try to find out what's really going on, what the real cause is that's happening. And you're going to find that even as a group, if we get the opportunity to hang out together on a live basis, that would be so much fun.
Mm,
But what a fun group that is. And I don't know about you, but different family gatherings I've had, sometimes there can be a person that's a real wild card there or somebody that's a real problem. And a lot of the time in the world, it seems there's a lot of people that have no idea and would take no responsibility for the idea that they are creating the world they see or what's coming out of the mouths of others. So it's a really fun environment to hang out in because it feels so safe. not that we all need so much safety, but it's not an easy time when you're in a group of people that can be triggered and upset and angry, and they have no idea that they're even participating or contributing to it at all, or maybe even reproducing it out of an old relationship. So back to I was invited to a dinner party early on in my spiritual journey. They muscle tested me. It's a way of testing your body to see if you have a certain belief or you don't. And I was tested on a very simple statement: I am worthy of a happy life. And my muscles did not support it. In other words, they did not stay strong. When I was thinking that thought, trying to stay strong, my muscles actually went weak. And then we reverse tested it, and I said the words, I do not deserve a happy life. And I was strong like a lead pipe. I thought, oh my gosh, how did this happen?
Right.
But here's how it happens. I just want to share each time we're going to share something. I hope that if you haven't heard it before, it'll be meaningful to you and you can use it later. But you think, "Well, how did my wires get crossed?" Because it's not like I wake up in the morning and wish that I have an unhappy life. What happens is when you're under a whole lot of stress, let's say you've had, maybe it's a boss at work. Okay. So you have a boss at work, very difficult person. Every day when you go into work, you kind of put your armored vest on and you just kind of, maybe you're quiet, just doing your job, and you just want no interaction with this person. Maybe you try to, if you have to leave them reports, you do it when they're at lunch, so you have no interaction. So you might be under all this stress with this person, and maybe you're finishing a project that you feel great about. You poured your heart into it. You're leaving it on their desk when they're not there because you don't want to talk to them. But so you're having a very positive association with the work you're doing, but a very negative association when you are completing it. So what happens is your wires literally get crossed. When you're focused on something really positive, but it has a very negative reaction, you're going to find that every time you start to think something positive, there's going to be a fall off of energy. And then every time you put your metal vest on, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, you're going to actually derive a little bit of power from that. So when you have a negative thought, it's actually going to give you some more power. Like, okay, I'll show him I just won't talk to him today and I'll get past this. But that's what happened is I was under stress for so long that when I would have a positive idea, like I am worthy of a happy life, my muscles were like, I don't even know what to do with that. And they would withdraw. And then the reverse was true. So we had to get that turned back around. I actually used some EFT and a little bit of
Mm.
prayer, and it was actually turned around in one night, which was wonderful. And I was muscle tested again, and it was completely flipped around. And I'll show you a lot of these very simple techniques as we go through this. But it's important to know if you have beliefs that are not supporting what you would like to create or what you think you would like to create. So tonight, as we get into this with each other, I thought it would be fun to hear from some of you that would enjoy sharing, how did A Course in Miracles find you? It seems like it follows us around or sits on a bookshelf or a friend introduces us. I know Terry gave me my first book. You said your former wife, Robin, gave you your first book, or did you buy it after
No,
Marianne?
I bought it later on, but she had given me cassette tapes to listen to, which of course I didn't listen to for a long time until I ran out of ideas on
Ideas.
how to
You
get
said
life to
they
work.
had all the cellophane. Yeah.
Yeah.
They had to pop the
Where are those
cellophane.
tapes at? Yeah.
So anybody there, would you like to just share, how did you find A Course in Miracles, or how did it find you?
So I had been in religion for many, many years. It's just been something that's been through my whole life. And I never really bought into church and things like that. But it was about 4 years ago, I received a Instagram post, it was a sponsored post, and it just spoke to me. And I was like, what in the world is this? I've never heard anything like this, but I believe this. I can't understand, you know, what this is. So it really just boggled my mind. And so I just started reading all the other posts. And I found out that it was A Course in Miracles. And so I bought the book and I study it every single day, hours, hours upon hours of study. And it has been the most transformative book I've ever read. And it's my belief that I've always had, that, God is love, and that's all that there is.
Great. And wouldn't you say that it's deepened your relationship with God? I mean, knowing you, you're just so close to God now and listening to Holy Spirit, and doesn't it just deepen that relationship?
It sure does.
Yeah.
There's nothing like it.
Well, thanks, Curtis. I appreciate that. Anybody else? How did A Course in Miracles find you?
Wow, I am so glad to be here. And Curtis, when you were talking about finding the course and resonating with the God is love message, I had a poster when I was a little girl, and I bought it with my own money because I saw it at the Hallmark store, and it was a little bear, and it had cursive writing, and it said God is love. And I was raised Catholic, and I was very pious. I loved every single thing about going to church when I was a little girl. But then there would be sometimes the priest would say something, and I thought, mm-mm, that's not right. I
Yeah.
had a knowing inside. But when I got this poster and I put it on my wall and I would stare at it every night when I was falling to sleep, and it would actually soothe me. And I think it taught me to meditate in a way because I would just ponder this idea. What is that? So different than anything I ever heard before. God is love. And then in the mid 90s, I kept reading books that would quote A Course in Miracles, and I was fascinated. I thought, what is this Course in Miracles? And I too had a bookstore thing, Babs. I was in a bookstore in Berkeley, and it also fell off the shelf. And I thought, oh, it's a book. Like I didn't even know it's a book. And then I bought the book, and I go home. I open it up. I'm all excited, and I put it on my own bookshelf. I thought I couldn't decipher it. So
Yeah,
I waited
it
a
is
couple of
tough.
years. And a couple of years later, I took it off the shelf, and it's been more than 25 years now. I've been working with it, and I'm a real drip by drip kind of course student. It has transformed my life. I have what seems to be like a radically different life than most anybody else I know, but I'm they're still slogging through a few things here. And I was on a dating website a couple weeks ago, and this guy said, I mentioned A Course in Miracles on my profile, and the guy said, "Oh, you've been studying it that whole time?" And I said, "Yeah." He said, "Oh, there must be a long course and a short one." He said, "I took the short one."
Oh
I said,
yeah, I love it when people say, "Oh yeah, I read that book." And you're like, "Oh, did you?" The short book, the short course.
Yeah, I'm on my 28th round of reading the workbook lessons.
yeah.
And still it's like, what do you think this means?
Yeah. Right.
Somebody asked me one time, they knew I'd been studying the course for more than like 25 years, and they said, "Can I see your book? I want to see all your notes and everything on there." And I said, I don't take notes. Every time I read it, it's like a fresh read, and it's like something new just gets me.
It
It's so
does. It's funny, Patricia, when I met Terry, he just loves to take notes, and he had all these journals and notes and sticky notes. And so his book, it's just so funny because it's like 1,000 Post-its.
Yes, just
And
peppered
I'm
with.
like, how do you know where you're going? But I used to call him Notes as a nickname because I never do that at all. I don't really write. I don't want any writing in my
But
book.
there's so
But
many interesting things. Like, I
but
gotta remember
love
this.
it.
I gotta remember that.
We're
Wait, I gotta
different in
remember
that
that.
way, but I love it that he writes things down, or if we go somewhere, he plans it all out. He makes a little travel book. I mean, these are things I would never probably do for myself. So I adore them. Or if the kids are in the back seat, he makes little pouches for them and it has all this stuff in it. But so his nickname was Notes. So he knows all about those notes and Post-its. So
I can
so
relate,
cute.
Patricia.
Now I love them. For at first, I think I judged them a little bit like, how does he even know where he's looking for? There's 1,000 Post-its here. But then now I just appreciate that about him because I think, wow, look at the extra mile he goes to write something down, and it's always good. It's always about good things. And so now when I look at his post-its, I thought, oh, one day I'm going to say, oh, I miss those post-its,
Well,
or I'll leave first.
every once in a while, I look at them all and go, "That's a lot of post-its. You got to take these down." So I take them all down, and then about a week later, one sneaks back up there, and then another one, and then another one. Then it looks the same as it did a month ago.
But they're all really good points.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Thanks, Patricia. So good to see you. Anybody else want to share your ACIM journey?
I will.
Oh, right, Karen.
Rob and I realized that we have a mutual acquaintance who kind of turned me on to it, Deborah Weed.
Oh, wow, really?
Yeah, she's a Floridian also. I mean, she was in
Oh,
Florida at the
great.
time. And after a rather jarring experience, I was trying to resource myself with some new stuff, and she suggested reading Byron Katie and reading the Course on Miracles. So I looked it up, and you had all kinds of resources on the web.
That's good. I'm glad they
And then
popped up.
so I studied with you for about 4 years on the
thank
ones where you would do, yeah. So I've been doing that for almost 9 years now.
Wow. Did you get the spiritual medicine cabinet I sent out today? It's pretty
Oh, I
expensive.
didn't look at it yet today.
Check it out. It's that'll keep you busy for a couple of years. Yeah. It's called a 90-day program, wink, wink, but it's like 90 dog years in days. Yeah. I mean, you can spend a week or a month on a day. It's not meant, you could take it in 90 days. You'd be one of those people that said, oh, I read A Course in Miracles, but you feel free to spend as much time as you want with any one of those days, but check it out by all means. And you guys share that with anyone. You're welcome to. It's extensive and it's helpful because it's by topic. So if you're dealing with a difficult person, there's a day for that. If you're feeling stuck, there's a day for that. And it just gives you all these, helpful tools. So I just sent that out today. Did anybody get that today? Good. Okay. It went out. Very nice.
You got it.
All right. Well, anybody else want to share before we go forward? How about you, Judy?
I'll share. So A Course in Miracles found me about 35 years ago. Of course, it stayed on my shelf for about 30 years. And I got the cards. Remember
30 years on the shelf. So you had to kind of blow it off after.
Anybody remember the little cards with the plastic sleeve? I have those as well.
And you had all 3 volumes, right? The text, the workbook.
Yeah. So I started studying it again seriously about 6 years ago. And I say that I'm an on and off student because this is the first year I've been consistent every day with the workbook lessons. I mean, up until today, I've been very consistent. But the previous 5 years, I would get to a certain point and I would throw it against the wall. It's like, I don't understand this, So it's a journey for sure.
Oh, sure is. Well, I'm glad you got it off that shelf. It might have been stuck.
And every time I read a lesson today, it's like, I've never seen this before.
Yeah.
Right.
I really
seen this before. And I have this experience all the time. It's great.
Isn't that amazing? It's so deep. And then you'll see things that you sometimes did see before, but then it just strikes you completely differently, right? Just layers of healing. Sure. Well, welcome, Judy. So good to have you.
Hi, my name's Mike.
All right, Mike.
I was in an AA meeting in 1991. I had 1 year sobriety, and someone announced after the meeting that there was going to be they had a Course in Miracles study group, and I went to it, and I've been studying the course on and off ever since 1991. I got to hear Ken and Gloria Wapnick speak at the
What an honor.
university in
Yeah.
1991, and was in a group back then. And there's been times where I put it on the shelf, let it sit there for a while, even got rid of my book when I moved to Mexico, did bring it with. But around 2015, I really started getting back into it, and I've been studying almost daily for the last 10 years. And
That's a lot.
so that's my story real quick.
Thanks,
Great.
Mike. I'm glad you pushed
Yeah.
through so we could hear it. That was great.
All right.
All right. Well, the next part we have here is we have this picture behind us. You see? If we back up, you see that picture? The first person that guesses where that is gets a $25 Starbucks card. You have to either
Other side
unmute,
again. Give them a little.
either unmute and or write it there in the chat. Give it a shot. We're $25.
No, it's not our house.
We
Is
thought each time
it,
we'd come from a different place in
Oop.
the world.
is
Somebody said-
it conference?
Nope.
Nope.
That sounds pretty though. We might go there next.
That's right.
It's Greece.
But what city?
The
Santorini.
Santorini?
No,
It's not Santorini?
this one's not.
Oh, it's not?
It's Crete.
Oh.
Oh,
All right. But Shar, you got closest with a country. before
Thank you.
anyone-
Close, but no cigar. Thank you.
That's okay.
Thank
that's
you.
pretty
I'll
fun.
treat you guys to Starbucks with your own
That's
gift cards.
See, it's worth just shouting it out, right? So there's a quick way to determine whether you have a particular belief or not, and it's one that you can usually do at home. Some people, there's a few reasons why, but some people can't seem to get it to work, and I can help those people with this. But what you do is you just cross your hands over your chest this way. And the first thing you can do is think about a food that you love. Everybody's muted right now, I believe, but you can think about a food you love. Like I love avocados. There's no secret about that. So if I say I love avocados, my body pitches forward. If I say I don't like avocados, just like relax and let yourself just flow, but my body pitches backward. So if you all try right now, just try to pick something you love to eat and say it out loud for yourself. I love this food item, and see if you can get your body to react one way or the other. Give it a try. Sometimes when we're under a lot of stress, your body won't move. But if you're relatively relaxed, your body will respond one way or the other. Typically, a yes is forward and a no is backward, but not always. There's reasons. Did anybody not have any reaction at all? Like you couldn't tell? So everybody had a reaction. Did you get the yes was forward, or did anybody go backward for yes? Everybody went forward that tried it. Good. So I'd like you to try. Now you know what your yes is. Sometimes I have you test with your name. I found that was problematic because some people don't like their name. So you go and say your name. Sometimes you go back because you never did like your name, and so you reject it. But that's why I say pick something you love to eat, or you can say also just the words yes, yes, yes. I go forward. No, no, no. I go backward. You might try that real quick right now. Just check that out. And just make sure your yes is very known to you. Your no is different. Just give it a try. Were you able to get your yeses going forward? Anybody have any? It's okay if you had a weird result. There's reasons for that. But so now you know what your yes is. Now I'd like you to try the one they gave me and say, I am worthy of a happy life. All right. Anybody get a no? Kind of went backward like I did. Yeah, that's all right. We'll work on that, right? But it's really good when that goes back. It just means, like we talked about before, that there's been a prolonged period of stress where when you have a happy thought, your defenses come up, and you're in the middle of the stress, your defenses come up. So your power is actually going in the direction of a negative experience. So when you have a positive thought, there's a fall off. But anyway, that's all correctable. It's all good. Now let's try this one. Just close your eyes, hear these words. I am free of the hurts in my past relationships. How many yeses did we get? Yeses as a thumbs up that you're free. Patricia, I'm very proud of you. Babs, you got a yes? Yeah. A lot of times people, yeah, there you go. No, right? That's okay. It's a very absolute statement, but it's one to be aware of because it just means somewhere tucked in your heart, there's some hurts there still. They need to be addressed. That's all it means. Doesn't mean you're bad or flawed or not worthy of something great. But do you realize that until those hurts are addressed, at least a little bit, it's going to be hard to welcome a holy, happy relationship because your whole being is saying, no, I don't think so. I don't think that's there. There's things to work out. So it doesn't mean it's bad or complicated. It just means there's some hurts in the heart that we can actually work on together. I'll be giving you different ways to do that. Okay, so the third one, last one, is I am open to new and healthy relationships. Hey, Patricia. How many thumbs up? Yes, you're open. Hey, look at this, right?
Right.
And even if you got a thumbs down, it's okay, because the fact that you're here means you are willing. Your heart may not feel open just yet, but the willingness invites the power of the Holy Spirit to kind of blow through those resistances, right? So those are the three I just wanted to check in with tonight. And it doesn't mean that you're sick or flawed or anything. It just means that there's still some things in your heart that need to be attended to. It's almost like we have little thorns in our heart from the past and they need to be pulled out, right? So we can be free. Everyone in here is already whole. Everyone in here is already entitled to happiness and to have holy relationships. We were created to enjoy these holy relationships. But I found not only for myself, Terry found for himself, so many of the people we know that until these beliefs that we're still carrying around, and they're really usually from hurts and wounds of the past, until those are addressed a little bit, it doesn't mean we're going to do a whole bunch of therapy in here, but it does mean that as we start to choose higher, happier, healthier thought forms, those are going to go, those old limiting beliefs are going to go out by the wayside, but you'll be aware of kind of what you're flushing out of the way. I hope you'll test yourself. Maybe you're looking at two jobs. You could say, and just sit with your eyes closed, taking a deep breath. It's good to be hydrated as well. But to say, in my highest good, this job with Smith Company is good for me. And then see what you get. In my highest good, this job with this company is good for me. Might get yes or no. And then you can ask questions. You can ask the divine and be direct, though, about who you're asking because your ego will love to answer and give you really lousy information. So you can say, God, I'm asking you, is this good for me? Yes or no? And you can use it as such a simple tool. If you're not getting a flow one way or the other, it usually means you're under a lot of stress right now, and that will kind of freeze up your energy. So there's other ways of testing, which each time I'll show you a little piece of something so that you can get past if you have a obstacle in that way. So any questions from that? We're going to, keep in mind what results you got here tonight. We're going to be working on some of those, and sometimes we'll have little breakout sessions where, you'll have fun meeting someone and you can, be there for each other while you test each other on like 5 different ones and just have fun and laugh and write down your results and, just get to know somebody while we're all just doing this great healing work together. What do you think? This next time, we'll be talking a lot about communication and how to communicate in ways that other people will hear you a little better or understand what you are saying in a quicker kind of way. So I hope you'll stay tuned. And each time, I think it's important for us to take 1 or 2 of these limiting beliefs and work on those together. And they're wonderful. Like when you overcome or overturn these old beliefs that you're carrying in your subconscious mind, you feel so much better. and life just moves easier. So, all right. I love this group. There's so much love here. I feel so happy to be here. So thank you for showing up, and we'll see you next time. If you're not a member, we hope you'll join, and we'll take real good care of you. We promise. We love you guys.
Thank you so
Have a
much.
great
Thank you.
night. It's great to meet
Thank
you.
you all. Bye.
Bye-bye. Good night.
Good
Good
night.
night.
You
Good
all.
night, friends. Bye-bye.
Sleep well.